1.5 hours ago. That trip from the Building 254 integration facility to the launch pad took a little less than an hour to complete across that sprawling and desolate launch complex. The gathering of all of these well-wishers contributing to the wow factor for these launches. Kim there, as you see through the window of the bus, Zubritsky alongside of him, waving goodbye to the crowd as they began to exit the parking lot en route to launch pad 6, site 31, where they then boarded their rocket, as you'll see here in a moment or two. And here is the crew's bus arriving at the launch pad. You'll see the crew escorted to the stairs of the pad, climbing a few stairs and waving goodbye to well-wishers before entering the elevator for the ride to the top of the Soyuz rocket, boarding their spacecraft, which they have now been aboard for the past 2 hours. Once again, final opportunity for the 3 crew members to wave goodbye to the well-wishers at the launch pad before climbing those few stairs, riding the elevator up to the entrance level and the hatchway to the Soyuz descent module to be helped into their respective seats. Sergei Ryzhikov, the Soyuz commander, in the center seat of the Soyuz, flanked to his left by Zubritsky, who is board engineer number 1, and to Ryzhikov's right is Johnny Kim of NASA, board engineer number 2. Back now live with a view of the Soyuz 2.1A booster, the countdown approaching the T-minus 17-minute mark. The International Space Station is flying from southwest to northeast across the Atlantic at the moment, about to cross the west coast of Africa. At the time of launch, the station will be flying 260 miles over northwest Uzbekistan. The station will be about 400 miles behind Soyuz and will pass directly over the Baikonur Cosmodrome 1 minute after Soyuz lifts off. It then will leapfrog past the Soyuz as Ryzhikov, Zubritsky, and Kim climb to their preliminary orbit. 8 minutes and 46 seconds after launch, the third stage engine of the Soyuz booster will shut down. The Soyuz will separate from its launch vehicle and deploy its solar rays and navigational antennas. At that point, the 3 Soyuz crew members will trail the station by 1,008 miles, and the chase will begin, resulting in docking to the Prichal node module on the Earth-facing side of the station's Russian segment at around 4:04 a.m. Central Time, 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time. The music that you're hearing once again being piped into the descent module for the pleasure of the 3 crew members on board. This is traditional, crew picking a variety of its own music so that it can have an opportunity to relax in the final hour of the countdown.
Готовность к пуску 10 минут. Первый. Готовность к пуску здесь Готовность к пуску 10 минут принял 60-й. Готовность к пуску 10 минут принял 70-й. Принята готовность к пуску 10 минут. Первый.
Forwarded 10 minutes readiness.
Готовность 10 минут.
We copy 10 minutes readiness.
The countdown has now reached the T-minus 14-minute 20-second mark at the launch site on the steppe of Kazakhstan. NASA officials on hand to watch the beginning of the journey for Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zubritsky. Leading that NASA delegation on hand for the launch today is Ken Bowersox, who you saw a moment ago in the video B-roll, NASA's Associate Administrator for Space Operations, Johnson Space Center Acting Director Steve Kerner, ISS Program Manager Dana Weigel, Shel Lindgren, the Deputy Director of Flight Operations here at the Johnson Space Center, and NASA's Chief Astronaut Joe Acaba. And with them is NASA Public Affairs Officer Shaniqua Vereen, who filed this report a short time ago.
Thanks, Rob. I'm here at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The morning is clear and crisp as we await the launch of Soyuz MS-27. I'm currently positioned about 2 miles from Launch Pad 31, where the Soyuz rocket stands poised and ready for liftoff. The weather is ideal with a temperature of about 62 degrees Fahrenheit and a gentle breeze between 5 and 10 miles per hour. The past week has been quite eventful as we prepared for this moment. Our journey kicked off on Friday afternoon when we arrived in Baikonur, escaping the snow back in Moscow. Early Saturday morning, the Soyuz MS-27 was rolled out to the pad, setting the stage for the rocket's upright position in anticipation of launch. This mission will carry NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, along with his Roscosmos crewmates Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky, to the International Space Station. During yesterday's press conference, Johnny outlined his objectives for the mission, highlighting the significance of the research and experiments he plans to conduct. He expressed particular enthusiasm for cancer drug research, hoping that these findings will continue to aid in the fight against various forms of the disease on Earth. In a heartfelt moment at the press conference, Johnny also shared insights into the crew's zero-G indicator. He mentioned that it was a little angel and that Soyuz commander Sergei Ryzhikov gave each of them one to bring to their spouses, something for them to see and think of while we're away. For now, Rob, we're stationed at the viewing site, ready for launch. Johnny is supported here by his family, friends, and NASA colleagues, all eager to cheer him on as he embarks on this journey. We'll hand it back to you in Houston as the final countdown continues toward liftoff.
Thank you, Shaniqua. That countdown now has reached the T-minus 11-minute mark. We're about 4 minutes away from the point at which the launch key will be inserted in the launch bunker into the mechanism that basically triggers the launch sequence into automatic mode. As mentioned earlier, after liftoff, the vehicle will arc out to the northeast from the Baikonur Cosmodrome into an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. 1 minute 58 seconds after launch, we will see first stage separation on the Soyuz 2.1A booster, followed about 2.5 minutes after that by second stage shutdown and separation. The third stage engine on the booster will fire for an additional 4 minutes, heading uphill toward the preliminary orbit for the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft. Third stage shutdown scheduled at the 8-minute 46-second mark, followed 4 seconds later by third stage separation, and then the automated pre-programmed commands will begin the deployment of the Soyuz's solar arrays and navigational antennas.
Гермошлема закрыта, КСС в режиме готовности. Повара Я-16 вас понял, КСС в режиме готовности.
Visor should be now closed.
Повара включена видеокамера номер 2.
We're approaching the T-minus 9-minute mark in the countdown. Everything is in great shape. The Soyuz fully fueled for launch. There have been no issues being worked throughout the course of the past several hours by the engineers at the blockhouse in Baikonur. And as mentioned earlier, the Soyuz will be placed in a trajectory for a 2-orbit rendezvous. This has become customary for crewed missions on Soyuz vehicles to the station. An expedited journey of just over 3 hours from the launch pad. In this case, the docking scheduled at around 4:04 a.m. Central Time, 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time to the Prichal module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. Coming up on the T-minus 8-minute mark in the countdown. Mark 8 minutes until launch.
Минутная готовность. Первый. Минуту готовность принял 20. Минутную готовность принял 30. Минутную готовность принял 60. Минутную готовность принял 60.
T-minus 7 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. We're coming up on the point at which the launch key will be inserted in the launch bunker.
Есть провести сброс объекта 60. Готовность принял на Soyuz 70. Такой 70 принял первый.
Favor, we have readiness. Please report your status. Everything nominal on board.
The call sign that Ryzhikov has selected, as he did for his previous mission as a Soyuz commander, is Favore. Each crew has their own call sign for Soyuz vehicles from launch to docking and then from undocking through landing. So you'll hear those call signs being expressed by the flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov, as well as from the blockhouse in Baikonur for the final 6 minutes of this countdown. And the key has now been inserted in the launch bunker. The automated sequence now underway for the final 6 minutes of the countdown. Inside 5.5 minutes until launch. Launch control reporting that the range is clear. The Soyuz rocket ready to begin its journey.
Есть продувка 30-й.
Inside 5 minutes.
70-й. Доклады принял, первый.
The temperature in Baikonur around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, clear skies, awaiting the liftoff of the Soyuz MS-27 and the next trio of residents to take up occupancy aboard the International Space Station. Coming up on the 4-minute mark in the count, onboard systems now have been switched to onboard control, and the crew members are closing their helmets, their visors on their helmets, putting them on suit oxygen for the remainder of the countdown.
Baikonur launch.
T-minus 4 minutes and counting.
What is the status of the atmosphere? No clouds.
The fuel lines and the other elements of the rocket engines now being purged with nitrogen that fireproofs them by removing vapors of fuel and oxidizer from the base of the 2.1A booster. Once again, the launch precisely timed for the moment when the Earth's rotation places the cosmodrome in the plane or corridor of the orbit of the space station, inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. A narrow phase angle for this launch of just 14.6 degrees to facilitate the two-orbit fast-track rendezvous. Coming up on the 2-minute, 30-second mark.
Favore.
Командира и бортинженера. Камера номер 1.
We see the commander and flight engineer. Here, 1.
The booster tank now being pressurized for flight, optimizing the flow of fuel, helping to add structural support for the rocket on the pad.
Наддув.
Есть разъем, есть сброс разъема системы измерения. Готовность 1, готовность 2 на выдано, 70-й. Доклады принял, первый.
T-minus 1 minute, 40 seconds. The ground propellant feed has been terminated. Coming up on the 1 minute mark, Soyuz about to go on internal power. T-minus 1 minute and counting. About 20 seconds away from the first umbilical retracting from the side of the booster.
Земля борт.
Vehicle to
Есть переход блока 3-й ступени на бортовое питание. Есть отрыв второго блока 3-й ступени. Есть отрыв холодной пневмоководных блока И-70.
There's the retraction of the first umbilical.
Есть мачта 30-й.
Standing by for the second umbilical to retract and initiate engine sequence start.
Пуск.
Auto sequence initiated, standing by for engine start. We have main engine start.
launch command issued for ignition.
Предварительная.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Engine start.
Главное
Engine ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of Soyuz MS-27, Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zubritsky begin a sprint for a marathon mission on the International Space Station. Good thrust. Soyuz arcing out to the northeast. Good roll, pitch, and yaw program reported.
Thrusters operating nominally.
All first stage engines operating normally according to the engineers at the blockhouse in Baikonur. 40 seconds into the flight. The vehicle parameters are all reported to be stable.
Stable at 40 seconds. Everything nominal on board.
1 minute into the flight, the International Space Station flying directly over the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The Soyuz booster passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure.
The crew is feeling good.
All vehicle systems reported to be normal.
Параметры системы управления ракетой-носителя в норме.
90 seconds into the flight. First stage performance nominal.
Everything nominal on board. Copy.
About 15 seconds away from first stage separation.
0848, everything nominal on board.
Standing by for first stage separation.
Roll pitch yaw, nominal.
First stage separation reported. The symmetrical departure of the strap-on boosters. Second stage up and running.
First stage separation.
Vehicle parameters all are normal according to the engineers at the blockhouse in Baikonur. 2.5 minutes into the flight. "36 miles in altitude, 75 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome.
Thrusters operating.
Second stage engines all operating normally.
Copy.
The launch shroud has now been jettisoned as planned. The second stage shutdown will come at the 4-minute, 37-second mark into the flight. Launch occurring on time at 12:47 and 15 seconds a.m. Central Time, 10:47 and 15 seconds a.m. Baikonur time. This view now from a camera on the upper stage of the Soyuz booster. 3 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight, all vehicle parameters continue to operate as planned.
Thrusters operating nominally. And everything nominal on board. The crew is feeling good.
Good control of the vehicle. Five minutes of powered flight remaining.
Nominal flight. Everything nominal on board.
4 minutes into the flight. All vehicle systems reported to be in great shape.
Second stage.
About 25 seconds to go until second stage shutdown.
Nominal on board. The crew is feeling good.
Ryzhikov reports the crew is feeling good.
10 seconds to second stage separation. Copy.
We're standing by for second stage shutdown and separation.
Nominal. Copy.
Third stage oxidizer tank has been pressurized.
Есть 1 хороший
Second stage separation confirmed. Everything nominal on board. The crew is feeling good.
That was the third stage lower skirt that was jettisoned as planned. The Soyuz now flying on the power of its third stage engine with about 3.5 minutes of powered flight remaining. All systems continue to operate in excellent fashion.
Двигатель третьей ступени работает нормально.
Third stage engine operation nominal. Copy, and everything nominal on board.
Strapped into their seats in the center section of the Soyuz MS-27, Sergei Ryzhikov, the Soyuz commander, in the center seat, flanked to his left by Alexei Zubritsky, and Johnny Kim of NASA, flanked to Ryzhikov's right.
Roll, pitch, yaw, nominal.
Roll, pitch, and yaw, all reported to be in good shape.
Nominal on board.
A pre-programmed set of maneuvers for the Soyuz 2.1A booster, coming up on the 6.5-minute mark into the flight. 2 minutes and 20 seconds of powered flight remaining. This third stage engine provides 67,000 pounds of thrust for its 4 minutes of operation to place the Soyuz spacecraft into its preliminary orbit.
Vehicle is
Coming up on the 7-minute mark in the flight. Mark 7 minutes. All vehicle parameters continue to operate as planned.
Двигатель третьей ступени работает нормально.
third stage. Thruster operating nominally. Copy. The crew is feeling good. Everything nominal on board.
Nothing but good reports coming from the Soyuz back to the flight controllers, not only in Baikonur, but there at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. 7 minutes, 45 seconds into the flight, 1 minute of powered flight remaining.
Двигатель третьей ступени работает нормально.
Third stage. Engine operating nominally. Separation expected in 30 seconds.
Eight minutes, 22 seconds into the flight. About 30 seconds of powered flight remaining.
Nominal flight.
A smooth ride uphill so far for Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zubritsky.
And Favore, you may expect
Standing by for third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation. And we have third stage shutdown. Third stage shutdown, spacecraft separation confirmed.
Favore, how do you read us? This is Moscow. We read
And we have confirmation of solar array deploy and navigational antenna deploy as planned.
spacecraft.
Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, Alexei Zubritsky on their way to the International Space Station.
Принято Фаворы, отключаем БИОС-2, РПВ-1, закрываем РПВ-1-2 и потом приступаем к контролю ТС. РПВ-1-2, закрыто. Принято.
It is complete. Copy.
Контроль ТС штатно. Выполняем запуск разового контроля кабины.
Принято, ожидаем замер.
Checkout was nominal. Copy.
Поворот командир может приступать к работе с телевидением.
Favor,
По
you
36 странице.
may start working per page 36.
Вас понял, разовый контроль запущен. Работа с телевидением.
We started the checkout. TV is on.
Фавор, ожидаем от вас первый замер по АКГ.
So, after a flawless countdown, an uneventful ride uphill for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for Johnny Kim of NASA and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky, third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation came right on time at the 8-minute 46-second mark into the flight, followed seconds later by solar array deploy and the unfurling of the navigational antennas that will guide the Soyuz to what is expected to be an automated docking to the Prichal module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station at about 4:04 a.m. Central Time, 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time.
Indicator mode.
Наддув КДУ. Отключаем.
Reduce power.
Принято. Фавор, перейдите на input 2 на формат ТВС.
Favor, please go to input 2 panel.
And this view, which is the same view as the crew is seeing on board the descent module, showing the display panel that Ryzhikov, Kim, and Zubritsky are looking at. You see in the box on the left-hand side, this is basically the same overlaid video that you'll be seeing in more granular detail a few hours from now when we come back for our rendezvous and docking coverage.
Выполнил переход.
Transition complete.
Фавор,
Favor,
команду R18.
send Romeo 18 command. Go to the backup transmitter. Copy and work.
Подготовил, выдаем.
Принято.
Ready. Command to send. Copy.
With the ascent having been completed, placing Kim, Zubritsky, and Ryzhikov into their preliminary orbit, next up will be the first in a series of delta velocity burns that is scheduled about 21 minutes from now. This will be a burn of about 24 meters per second to begin to increase the Soyuz's altitude to match that of the International Space Station. At about 1:42 a.m. Central Time, we will move into what are called automated rendezvous operations. The Soyuz will be guided through a series of pre-programmed commands until it reaches the neighborhood of the International Space Station, at which point the Core's automated rendezvous system will guide the Soyuz in for a fly-around of the station that will precisely align the forward docking probe with the Prichal module on the Earth-facing side of the station. Once the fly-around is complete, the Soyuz will stop its motion, put the brakes on, if you will, for a few moments to allow the Russian flight controllers there in Korolyov to measure the alignment of the Soyuz with Prichal before the command will be given for final approach that will result in the docking of Soyuz to Prichal at about 4:04 a.m. Central Time, a little over 3 hours from now.
Favors, Moscow. We cannot copy you.
Фавор, ответите.
Favors, Moscow.
Фавор, ответите по Москве, мы вас не слышим.
Favors, Moscow. We cannot copy you.
So to recap, after a flawless countdown, the Soyuz MS-27 atop the Soyuz 2.1A booster lifted off on time at 12:47 and 15 seconds a.m. Central Time, 1:47 and 15 seconds a.m. Eastern Time.
Build a local vertical copy. Just give us parameter 17 from Form 3, page 37.
With the Soyuz having been successfully placed into its preliminary orbit, the crew will begin a series of vehicle checkouts before the pre-programmed firings of the Soyuz engine will bring the Soyuz to its docking to the station a little over 3 hours from now. We will be back on the air with our rendezvous and docking coverage at 3:15 a.m. Central Time, 4:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Docking scheduled at approximately 4:04 a.m. Central, 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time to bring Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zubritsky to their new home in space. We'll take a break after docking, and then we'll be back on the air later this morning with our third broadcast in the overnight hours of hatch opening. That will begin at 6 a.m. Central Time, 6 a.m. Central Time, for a hatch opening at approximately 6:20 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll see you back for those broadcasts as we move along through the course of the night. Once again, a perfect ride to orbit for Johnny Kim of NASA and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky. They are on their way on a 2-orbit rendezvous to reach the International Space Station. We'll see you back here a little over 2 hours from now at 3:15 a.m. Central Time with rendezvous and docking coverage. For now, this is Mission Control Houston.